Hi folks, Bill here with Legends Restaurants, and I'm here with another one of our Secrets of Legends. And today what we're doing is showing you our Hershey Extreme Cake. In our restaurant, we make all of our desserts from scratch, from our Hershey chocolate cake, our strawberry cake, our pecan pie. We have a cheesecake key lime pie. We have a caramel pie. A lot of different desserts. All of our desserts are made right here in-house. As always, if we can make it better than we can buy it, then hey, we make it. And so hey, we make all of our desserts are made from scratch. The Hershey chocolate cake is what I'm going to demonstrate to you today, and to show you how we make this cake in our restaurant. The recipe for this cake actually came off the side of a Hershey cocoa chocolate can of cocoa, and on there it's got the recipe for our cake that we make from scratch. You can buy cake mixes already ready to go. A lot of different companies out there have different cake mixes. You know, they're good products, but we've tried the cake mixes before, and the customers that come in and eat our chocolate cake, you know, hey, they threw it out the door and said, hey, don't need to be serving that. So hey, we went back to the scratch recipe of what we've always done. Been doing this cake for over 20 years now. So let me show you what we do. First of all, we get our water boiling, and then we take water and butter, and we boil that. So one secret to your butter, of course I'm using 2 pounds of butter in this recipe, and we're making a big cake, and I'll show you. You'll see that as we actually put the cake in the cake mix in the cake pan. But melt off your butter, bring your water to a boil, and melt off your butter. A lot of recipes at home that you make from a cake mix doesn't require that. Some of them just require water only, tap water, warm water. But anyway, this recipe, because the ingredients that we use in there, to activate those ingredients, you got to have that water hot. So we bring the water to a boil, and we melt off our butter. Once your water starts boiling, then add your butter to it, and it doesn't take it as long, obviously. One tip that I do is if I want to bring my water to a boil a lot quicker, just take a lid and place over your pot, and that contains the heat in there. It doesn't let the heat escape from the pot, and actually will start the boiling process a lot quicker, usually about half the time of what it would take if you left the lid off. So as we let this butter come to a boil, you know, it's a lot of fun cooking. I know a lot of folks at home watching the cooking shows that we do at Legends, showing you what we do. I've had a lot of comments about, you know, just some of the tips that people learn or whatever. But cooking's a lot of fun, in my opinion. I really enjoy doing it. People ask me all the time, do you cook at home? And believe it or not, I do. I mean, I just enjoy cooking. And I know a lot of you out there enjoy as well. All right, this is melted, so we're gonna go back to our mixer, and we'll add in our flour, sugar, ingredients that we got mixed up back there at the mixer. Now we're back here. This is a 20-quart mixer. I know your mixers at home are not quite that big, but to make this cake, and this cake's going to go in this cake pan here, and that's a full-size cake pan. That's a 12 by 18 by 3-inch cake pan. And so when we get 24 portions of cake out of this cake pan. And the reason this cake pan, you notice it's got square corners on it, so that every piece comes out the same amount of same proportion, where you don't have the bevels in the corners. If you had the bevels in the corners, then your corner pieces would be a lot smaller than your center pieces. So we buy these cake pans here commercially. This is a 12 by 18 by 3 pan, and we get 24 portions out of this pan. Now I've already got my flour, my cocoa, my sugar, my baking soda, all the ingredients that's in my dry mix. I've already got these in here. So I'm going to add this to my mixing bowl. Pot's still a little bit warm. Then I'm going to add my butter and water mixture. We use a wire whisk, and you want to use a whisk versus a pedal when you're doing your cake mix. I'm going to mix on a fairly slow speed. And I'll let this mix for about 3 to 5 minutes. Let your cake mix blend in pretty good. Really got to make sure that that you get your mix mixed in real well. Take and stir your bottom. Make sure you get all your dry mix off the bottom. Pretty nice having this commercial equipment to cook with. Of course, in the restaurant business, if you didn't have it, you certainly couldn't do the volume that we do in our restaurants with all the products that we do. Having the right equipment is very important to any success of any restaurant. All right, let that mix some more. Now I'm going to increase my speed a little bit. About 5 to 10 minutes is usually pretty good, somewhere in there. You can tell when all your flour and gets mixed in real well, where you don't have little lumps of flour in your cake mix. You don't want that. Next ingredients that we add to our cake mix is eggs and buttermilk. Be sure you don't get eggshells in your eggs. Once our cake mix is done mixing, then I'll mix this in by hand. I don't want to over whip the eggs into the cake mix. So I add my buttermilk. I use, when I add this, the eggs and buttermilk mixture, beat your eggs up real good. You can see the eggs here. Make sure you get your eggs mixed in real well. Break your eggs up. Very important that you do that. You don't want whole eggs floating around in your cake. It helps all your ingredients mix in a lot more evenly and more consistency. We have a lot of ingredients that goes into this cake, and leaving one ingredient out or not doing it exactly the way it needs to be done will affect the outcome of that cake every single time. Let this mix a little bit longer. Now that my cake mix is done mixing, get the excess batter off of my wire whisk here. You can really see that cocoa come out of that cake. A lot of chocolate lovers out there, and this is an all-time favorite. Now I'll use a paddle a spatula here. Some people call them pedals, and I'll hand mix this in. And I don't want to I don't want to over whip my cake mix. So we just hand whip this in right here. Takes a few minutes. It takes a good 30 to 45 minutes to make this cake, to get it prepped and ready to be baked. Show you what that looks like now. So once you get your eggs mixed in there real good, now we're ready to go to our pan. Now that I've got my mix blended real well, got my eggs and buttermilks, hand mix that in. Then I prepare my pan and use we use a Vaseline spray. I spray my pan real good, just to help keep your cake from sticking. Then come back. I add flour to that. And I don't worry about getting it on the sides as much as the bottom is the most important part. Take the excess flour, I dump that out, and this will keep the bottom of my cake sticking to my pan. So now just we'll just pour our mixture in. This cake right here, like I said, we get 24 portions out of it. If you have a birthday out there, we give you a free piece of this cake on your birthdays. So if it's your birthday, come in and tell us it's your birthday, and you get a free piece of this chocolate cake. And a lot of people take advantage of that. We will come out and sing to you. I sing in a local church choir, so I don't... Good thing I cook, because I sure can't sing. All right, we'll take that and put that in our oven at 350 degrees. I turn my fans down on low. At home, when you're baking a cake, 325, 350, depending on the temperature of your ovens. If you need your cake, if you got a real thick cake, you want to cook that at a little bit lower temperature and a longer time. Because what happens if you cook too hot, and you'll cook too quick, and you'll get the outside edges of your cake done first, and the center of the cake won't get done. And what we do is the old method that my grandmother taught me. Whenever a cake's done, you just take a toothpick and stick in the middle of it and pull it out. And if it's dry, then your middle of your cake's done. So we're gonna put this in the oven and bake this off, and then we'll make our icing and we'll top our cake. All right, now we're going to make the icing for the Hershey chocolate cake. I use milk. Now when you start your icing, you got to stay with your icing. You can't leave your icing. So I take milk and butter, and I want to get that melted down. And then notice I cut my butter in smaller chunks. At home, if you're making a cake this size here, then what you want to do is go ahead and cut your butter up in smaller chunks. So what that does, that helps your butter melt a lot faster. So while that's melting off, we also put cocoa, confection sugar, vanilla, and pecans. Now I use the chopped pecans, as you can see here. You can use whole pecans, and if you don't want to use if you don't want nuts in your icing, then obviously don't add the nuts. All right, make sure you stir. Doesn't take long for that mixture to get mixed, to get melted, as you can see here. Now I'm gonna add my cocoa. I'm going to turn my heat down about a medium heat. And like I said, you got to stay with this because you got milk in there. Milk will scorch. If you got your heat too high and you walk off and leave it, you got to constantly be stirring that. Add my vanilla. And last is my confectionate sugar. We use a Domino's confectionate sugar. Try to use good products. You know, if you start off with good products in your recipes, you got a good chance to have a good product when you finish. Now, when you add this in, you want to just kind of keep stirring this product. And just stir as you add. And keep the heat going. That keeps your mixture hot and helps your sugar blend in a lot better. So let me finish adding my sugar. Oh yeah. What makes chocolate so good? Sugar. This particular cake gets a 2-pound bag of the sugar in this cake. And I'm going to keep mixing until I see my sugars dissolved. And then I'll add my pecans last thing. I still see my sugar. It's not all the way mixed. You can see the little lumps in there. So just takes a little time. Make sure you keep your flames going. It keeps your mixture hot. Helps your sugar mix in real well. You want to get that mixed in real well. Now I'm going to pull this off and add my pecans. Add my pecans in. Now I'm ready to top this cake, but you can see that is real runny right now. So what I'm going to do, I've got to let this set just a little bit. And if you're in a hurry, you can set this in your refrigerator at home and let that set up a little bit and then put it on your cake. And that's how we make our icing for our Hershey chocolate cake. So we're going to let this set up. We'll put it on the cake, and then we'll cut a piece of it and show you what it looks like. All right, my icing, I've let it set up, and I've got a, let me see if I can show you this. You can see the consistency of the icing now. So let's put this on our cake. Now here's our cake that's come out of the oven. It's ready to go. Now, if you can see real close on this pan, I've got this pan marked all the way around. That way, and I cut by those marks, so that's how I get an even, consistent cut. As long as I can cut a straight line, and which I don't always do that, but then I should get an even piece. This is a 3-inch, so I'm going to get a 3-inch by 3-inch piece out of this cake here. Now what I do is just take your icing. Now sometimes my icing is not, may not be set up enough, and that's okay because I'll ice this cake and I'll let it set. Oh yeah, looky here. Chocolate lover's dream right here. My brother-in-law is a chocolate nut. He tells me all the time, he said whenever his head tingles, then the chocolate is just right. And he ought to know because he loves chocolate. And there's a lot of chocolate lovers out there. And if you're a chocolate lover, I encourage you to come into Legends and get you a piece of this cake. The size of this cake is plenty big enough for 2 people to share. Most of our desserts are big enough for 2 people to share. It's just a matter of whether you want to share it or not. He don't never share his cake. You know, if you're coming at lunch a lot of times and you're looking for an afternoon snack, this is a real good one to get. If you want something just kind of, you know, 2 o'clock when you go on that break at work and you want a little snack. Hey, come in at lunch. When you come in at lunch, hey, get you a piece of this cake to carry home or carry back to the office with you. take that cake, and I'll show you what we do here in a minute. But anyway, spread this icing out on this cake. I'll show you how we serve it in the restaurant. All of our desserts are warmed, and we warm our desserts by putting them in a microwave for about 10 seconds, and all we're doing is heating them up. As you can see, this icing is set up just about right. It's not running, so I got a good even mixture all over my cake. And there, folks, is our cake, our Hershey chocolate cake. Now I'm going to attempt to cut this cake. And just get a little trick to cutting your cake. If you'll take some hot water and take your knife and stick it down in the hot water, and then wipe off the water, and then go to cutting your cake, then it'll slide right through that cake. This cake right here is cooked. It's baked really well. Then what I'll do is I'll take my knife and go around my pan. As you remember earlier, I didn't put any flour on that part, but I put flour on the bottom of the pan to help keep it from sticking. As long as I cut straight, we're going to be in good shape here. Cut a lot of cakes. I bake probably anywhere from 3 to 4 of these a week in every restaurant that we have, because this is the most popular dessert we have. Now, to get this cake out of here, I take 2 spatulas like this right here, and I'll start in the center after I've cut it, and push down right here like so, and grab that cake, and I put pressure on it and just pull that cake right out of there. Now look at that. As you can see, let me show you this so you can see the bottom of that pan. You can see the bottom of that pan right there. And you can see where I sprayed it earlier and put a little flour in there, and you see how that released really nice. You'll notice this cake is cooked pretty well even all the way through. If we cook it too long, or excuse me, too hot, too quick, you'll have what I call a brownie effect. You'll see right down at the bottom, that real dark line right across the bottom here. You'll see that all through that cake, and it's real dense. This is a dense cake anyway by the nature of the ingredients that goes in this cake. But sometimes if we don't do it right, and we've got to really pay attention, that this cake will have that brownie effect, and it still tastes the same, but it doesn't eat the same. Now let me warm this cake up and show you what it should look like. Now, I've warmed this cake up, and you can see how the icing's running down the side. The cake's going to be nice and warm throughout the cake, and the icing, when that icing's made correctly, it'll do just like that right there. So if we don't do it right in the pot, like I showed you earlier, then the icing will be real hard, and whenever you warm this cake up, it won't melt like it's supposed to. The melt factor in that cake won't do right. Folks, this is our #1 dessert at Legends Restaurants, our Hershey chocolate cake. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Legends Secrets. Come on out to Legends Restaurants and give us a try and try this cake. Hope to see you soon, and thank you very much for your business.